domanda della artificiale.
Okay, we're ready to begin Professor Fanti's talk.
Dopo, grazie.
You're too important.
Good morning to all, and I go to Jesus of the Shroud in the name of the Father, the Son, of the Spirit, Holy Spirit. Amen. This is the first presentation and of mine, and here I will show the many news that I detected in the last year. Tomorrow, instead, I will speak about novelty of about the unique wrapping of the shroud. Can you go to the next slide, please? Okay, thank you. So here I summarize the news about which I will speak today. There are many arguments. First of all, dating of the shroud. I will show many results against the 1988 carbon dating. And there are experimental results of mechanical type, chemical, numismatic, X-ray, and neutron effects in blood, and the last, the beta radioactivity detected on the shroud. And this is a very important fact. Body image is not explainable, we all know. And I will present a new hypothesis based on the Holy Fire of Jerusalem and a unique wrapping that will be discussed in that detail tomorrow. Blood, I detected from the dust vacuumed from the shroud, 3 different types. I have detected also the creatinine, the fibrin, typical of blood, perhaps some signs of hematidrosis, and perhaps the presence of mirror of the nape. And about the scourge marks, a new study, unpublished, showed that the scourge marks are almost 5,000 scourge marks. Medical condition, will speak of urea, microcytes, respiratory problems, and hemopericardium. And about, this is very important, about what happened in the sepulchre. We have no smearings on the blood stains, the stiffness of the body, fluid blood that are not explainable altogether from a scientific point of view. And we can explain these facts through the hypothesis of the transparencies of matter that leads to the dogma of the Mary's virginity. The next, please. About the radiocarbon dating, on the left, you will remember the. Thank you. Okay. You remember the Nature article where it was written, these results provide a conclusive evidence. And I agree with this fact if we think in another way. Because if we think from the recent results, it will be very probably the first scientific proof of resurrection of Christ. Why? because here is a published article where it is demonstrated that there are many problems in the interpretation of the result. And the result is not wrong, it is right. The result in terms of the test made in 1988. Please, if you have a comment. I was saying that the results of the 1988 in terms of percentage of radioisotope C14, C12 is right. But the interpretation of the result was wrong. Wrong, why? Why they did not consider the systematic effect, it means the environment effect, that altered the result. There is a variated percentage of C14. This is one of the proofs of the wrong dating, the wrong results of 1988. It is a numismatic dating. This is a book that I wrote. You can look at it at a desk. It is you cannot buy directly, but if you take the paper sheet, you have the address and the corresponding discount to have directly from internet. In this book, I show that the Turin shroud was certainly looked at starting from 692 AD. And this is the first coin coined by Emperor Justinian II, who printed an image that is very similar to that of the shroud. It has many points of congruence that I describe in the book. I coined a bronze medal having the face of the coin of Justinian II, and on the opposite face, the face of Jesus of the Shroud. If you want, this medal will be available from this afternoon. I have to arrange, and you can have it. It is possible to have this medal made as a relic, because here I have with me some samples from the Turin shroud. Teddy Pappas has taken with her 2 microscopes, and perhaps if we'll be able to organize all, Saturday evening we'll be able to show to you these fibers. One of these fibers is also bloody, so you can see at the microscope the blood of Jesus of the Shroud. And after that presentation, if you if you take with you this coin, I can put in contact with the glass containing the blood of Christ. So this medal can begin a relic of the 3rd order, relic by contact. If you want, you go out from this Congress with a relic of the Shroud. Mechanical dating, there is to too much to say. This is a particular machine that we designed and built at Padua University to make test tensile stress of the single fibers. A fiber is more thin than hair, and then very difficult to test. This is the results published in a scientific paper. All these results are evaluated by peer review and published in scientific papers. So it is not a result only of mine, but also controlled by someone of peer review. This dating was made after calibrating the machine by means of known samples. This is Egyptian mummy of 3000 AC, so very old. The age of excuse me. The age of the mechanical dating results 90 AD plus minus 200 years. At 95 confidence level, obviously. A chemical dating was made by using a Raman machine and FTIR machine, and also in this case resulted a date of 13 AD and 19 AD. This is the result of the X-ray dating. We have tested this piece of thread, and I have taken with me, Gio Marino asked me to take this sample, and on Saturday evening you will be able to see at the microscope this piece of thread that was dated, and also this date was near in the 1st century AD. It was, in fact, it had a profile in this plot very similar to the fabric of Masada that has a known date of 65 AD. Another result, very interesting for me, is that there is few nitrogen in the blood of the shroud. This is the corresponding publication. All these you can find in internet. And we see that a blood anomaly was found in the Holy Shroud. Unlike a common human blood, the Holy Shroud blood shows levels of nitrogen lower than the background. Thomas Phillips, you know, the professor who wrote on Nature the first hypothesis of neutron radiation, supposed that the radiation acted on the shroud, changing the nitrogen atoms into 14C. So the results of 1988 dating of the shroud should be corrected for this systematic effect. And these are results. This is the elemental plot of a common blood, where we see here the peak of nitrogen. If we look at the plot of the shroud, there is practically the nitrogen is masked by the background noise. So what does it mean? It means that the level of nitrogen was very low on the shroud because the nitrogen was transformed in C14. And then, for this reason, the date changed. But I think it is interesting, this table, because this table indicates the percentages of 12C, 13C, and 14C. We see that a mass of 120 kilograms of carbon contains only 0.15 micrograms of C14. And for this reason, little change in the percentage of C14 changes the date from the 1st century to the medieval date, and perhaps also in the future. Blood of the shroud is radioactive, and this is perhaps the most important result I obtained. The Shroud of Turin is radioactive, and this radioactivity is selectively detected. So not all the areas of the Holy Shroud are equally radioactive. And in particular, there is one type of blood that is very, very radioactive. This is the publication that you find in the internet. 3 different types of blood are evidenced. The presence of fibrin, earthy material, creatinine, typical of tortured person, and the stacking of erythrocytes is also discussed with the beta activity and the fluorescence. This type of blood, you can see here a sample of blood. This type of blood, it is not only radioactive, but also fluorescent. As you know, the normal blood is not fluorescent. And this fluorescent is the sign of activity, a past activity, probably due to a neutron irradiation. But where the neutron comes from, if not from the resurrection? This is the problem. Science is not able to explain. And these are the photos I made to this sample. This is the glass. This is the blood in the fibers. And this is important, the very high counting of beta particles. You see that alpha particles are not so much, but beta particles are very, very high, or many orders of magnitude greater than a normal blood. And what is beta radiation? Beta radiation is due to electrons. And the electrons are the source needed to explain the body image formation. So you can see that this is the proof on the blood of what happened in the sepulchre to form the body image that we see better tomorrow. Se c'è qualcosa? Ecco, as I told you, these are some samples that show the fluorescence of this blood. This is the blood seen at UV, and this is the not fluorescent blood. This is another samples, and what it is interesting is that with the blood crusts are very well visible also the serum that is greenish under UV. And this is another interesting result that I found. On shroud fibers, I detected a drop of hematic fluid that reached the fiber in the liquid phase. This is the demonstration that the blood on the shroud transferred in a fluid form, because we see the form of the blood of the drop. This is a recent result published in Medical Clinical Case Report Journal. Suppose this selective radiation is confirmed using large samples of the Holy Shroud. In the case of C14 1988 test, will be not considered a proof of the medieval age of the Holy Shroud, as many persist today in claiming, against all the reported unambiguous evidence of the contrary. But rather, it will be the proof that an intense nuclear reaction occurred in the Holy Shroud linen, that selectively, as I have told, altered the isotopic ratio. This is the formula, the chemical formula, where we see the nitrogen is transformed through neutron irradiation to C14. If the selective beta radiation will be confirmed, I am the only in the world to have measured this. I hope that someone will confirm this result. The C14 1980 result will be the first scientific proof of a neutron radiation occurred in the Holy Shroud, then enriched the linen of C14. But how can we think to an intense neutron radiation of 2,000 years ago, if not to the resurrection? I have a not alternative answer. Body image. As you know, Starp declared that the image is not reproducible. This type of contact, because the shroud wrapped Jesus Christ, is totally incapable of explaining the image of the face. For an adequate explanation of the image of the shroud, one must have an explanation which is scientifically sound from a physical, chemical, biological, and medical viewpoint. At present, this type of solution does not appear to be obtainable. And this is what was declared by Storp at the end of their very good results. The image is an ongoing mystery. The problems remain unsolved. Perhaps with the news that are published in this last year, something more can be explained. Holy fire and Maillard reaction. I have here the book I wrote. It is possible to see at the desk. I have few copies with me if someone wanted to buy. I have these copies. In this book entitled The Holy Fire and the Divine Photography, the image of the Holy Shroud of Christ, I present a new hypothesis that I think it is quite reliable, that is based on the Holy Fire of Jerusalem and coupled with the Maillard reaction, that is the chemical support for this image formation. About this fact, I must thank Ray Rogers, who was the first scientist to sustain this hypothesis, and I must say that I was contrary to this hypothesis for many years. I have made many discussions with Ray Rogers, but at the end, discussion because the only Maillard reaction was not possible to explain the body image. But if we make the coupling between what happens with the olifier and the coronal discharge, the Maillard reaction, we obtain, for me, the best solution to explain how the body image formed. To confirm this hypothesis, several experimental results were produced in the high-tension room of Padua University under the guidance of Professor Pesavento. And here we see some results. This is a medal, and this the image reproduced in a fabric similar to the shroud. Olifier and Maillard, there are many things to say. This is the results not so good because there are many things to apply. These tests are very costly, but wrapping a mannequin about 1 meter long with the shroud and subjecting to coronal discharge, this is one of the first results that demonstrates that from a chemical point of view, all the characteristics are compatible with that of the shroud. And from a macroscopic point of view, there are something to rearrange, but it is not so difficult. The Maillard hypothesis refers to Maillard reaction triggered by the urea exuded from the corpse in the presence of very particular radioactive phenomena, very similar to the olifier of Jerusalem, connected, as you know, the olifier is demonstrated, is connected with an intense electric field that obviously produces the coronal discharge. So we have this connection. Coronal discharge that develops every year in the edicole of the Holy Sepulchre. And this is the photo of mine in the 2017, I think. I went to Jerusalem and I tested the olifier. What is important of the olifier is that this fire is cold. For the first minutes it's cold. I put these candles under my beard, and I am here to explain what had happened. So it is obviously not hot. The Divine photography, I must run because has been demonstrated by also many experimental tests, experimental and numerical tests, where we see that an electric field is able to reproduce what we see on the shroud. To obtain the body image in agreement with Ray Rogers, in addition to the energy coronal discharge provided by the olifier, the Maillard reaction caramelization is necessary. According to Maria Valtorta, the Maillard reaction occurs through the sugars contained in the flex and the urea exuded by the corpse. And it is very easy to think that the body of Christ exuded a huge quantity of urea mixed with aloe and myrrh in the manteca. But why a huge quantity of urea? Because of the flagellation. The almost 500 scourge marks we see on the shroud produced the stop of the kidneys working, and therefore the production of a huge quantity of urea. Tomorrow we'll see better this point. This is only one mention. The hypothesis regards the unique wrapping of the shroud. And here we see some schemes that here is an explanation why we see the two bands of non-image near between the hair and the cheeks. The problem is this. The image was wrapping tightly the face, but we must think to the cosine lobe. The cosine lobe explains, this is the formula, that the radiation is highly dependently of the angle between the vertical and the direction of the skin in the face. And the intensity is 0 if the cosine is 90 degrees. So we have maximum radiation here, but here and here we have no radiation. This is why we have no image. And then we have the image over there, and this will be explained tomorrow. Image superficiality, you know that the image of the shroud is very superficial, but it is not only superficial on one side, at least in correspondence of the id, it is doubly superficial. We have an image on the front face of the shroud and an image less visible on the back side of the shroud. In the middle, nothing. But the news is here. This is a publication very recent, in 2024. The Holy Shroud image depth is locally variable. Consequently, the intensity of the image could depend not only on the areal density of yellow linen fiber, but also on their volumetric density, up to a depth of about 70 micrometers. On the back side of the Holy Shroud, another body image is visible, even if more evanescent. There are too many things to say. Another publication, at macroscopic levels, news regarding the direction and position of blood are discussed. Also, the blood stains on the left arm, right shoulder, and these are examined. In particular, this is a very interesting blood stain suggested by Teddy Pappas that studied with me the blood stains of the shroud. This is very important because this is a blood stain out of the image. If we see a blood stain, there was a contact between the shroud and the body, but we have no image. Why? This is in particular in that area of the shoulders, here, this point here, and it is in an area where the theta angle was seen before is about 45 degrees. And in this area we have no image, even if we have radiation and contact body sheet. Type A blood, as I told you, we have three types of blood. The type A is more interesting and more frequently, at least in my slide. And type A are rounded discoidal particles like a donut with central concavity very similar to red cells, but their size are about 10 times smaller. And this is a particular that we must study better in detail with medical experts. These particles are of blood because the elemental analysis show that this is blood, but this is a very particular kind of blood that can be explained by a big presence of urea. You see that the same things can be seen in one point and in another one. Type A blood show the presence of fibrin. Here is the fibrin, and this is the section of blood cells that it is very similar to an erythrocyte, but it is 10 times smaller. And these are nanoparticles of creatinine visible through a particular microscope that we have at Padua University. Types B is completely different, are blood crusts, blood shards of blood, probably of pre-mortem blood coagulated on the skin. Type C consists of single blood cells, heavy size, smaller, a bit smaller than those of 7-8 micrometers, typical of a human body. Hematohidrosis, this is another publication with a question mark, but perhaps this erythrocyte could be the proof of the presence of hematohidrosis. I must run because I am out of time. Mirror of the nape, these are unpublished results that I detected with my student. The very particular shapes of the blood we see on the blood stains on the nape from experimental results seems to show the presence of halo and mirror, obviously during the burial procedures. Nearly 500 scourge marks. This is another work to be published, made by these students of mine. It is very recent. I have it 20 days before. And what is interesting, it is that we detected many shapes of scourging. This is the most frequent, but we detected 7 different parts. And this is a very interesting image for me because the color indicates the different type of blood of scourge marks. And we see that some marks are concentrated in particular areas. This is an example. The dumbbell is concentrated in the dorsal image, but some signs are also present in the back. Another interesting fact is that very probably the scourges were at least two that used this mark, because one kind of scourge marks is longer than the other. So they use 2 different instruments. And it is not indicated here, but here is another scourge mark. So the scourging was done also on the head of Jesus. Flagellation of kidneys that produce the urea. These are the signs that are detected in correspondence of the kidneys. Heart attack due to scourge during the flagellation, almost 500 blows visible on the shroud. 4 of them were detected to the Earth. And the blows of fragments did not tear the Earth, but caused a trauma, the beginning of Earth attack that caused the hemopericardium. Okay. This is another publication made with Mario Scolese, Dr. Mario Scolese, that explains. Now I have not the time to explain better this. I must run. Causes of hemopericardium explained in this paper. In particular, we see also the signs of the cross, but the death by earth by attack, hemopericardium, and cardiac tamponated. Rigor mortis. Here are, this is a very important part that I must explain. Rigor mortis in the sepulchre is the first point that will be discussed later. This is results, numerical results that demonstrate that the body of Jesus was rigid. Point 2, there are no signs of putrefaction on the shroud, because if we had putrefaction, the gases that are very reactive go out from the holes, the mouth and the nose, and would have ruined the body image. If we have this very resolute image, there is the demonstration that there was no putrefaction. But the putrefaction begins at least 40 years after death. What means this? This means that the shroud wrapped the body of Jesus for no more than 40 hours. Point 3, there were no movements in the sepulchre. If you look at all the blood stains, you are not able to detect smearings. No smearings with liquid blood, we have seen before that the blood was liquid, means that there was no movement between the corpse and the shroud. So the body of Jesus was put in the sepulchre and was not moved again after this position. Point 3, as we have seen, the blood was liquid, and up to now the blood is fluid. This is a demonstration of some blood stains in the fibers. This is the scientific problem I mentioned at the beginning. We have the cadaveric rigidity, no putrefaction, no movement. How did the disappearance occurred in the sepulchre? Up to now, there are no scientific explanation. A scientific problem is unsolved. This is published here. A body wrapped up in the shroud, waiting for Sunday to be placed in the funerary niche of the tomb, remained there less than about 40 hours. This problem was not moved, but disappeared. And now we have not the time to enter in detail, but to explain this, we must suppose the transparency of the matter. Transparency of the matter, this make reference to the deposition on the Friday evening, and this what probably the Apostle John saw on the Sunday morning. The particular flaccid shape of the shroud with the sodarium still wrapped induced John to believe in the resurrection. John was the first apostle that believed in the resurrection. And we have not the time, excuse me, it is important. I can run? Yeah. Okay. And another important point is the position of the Sudarium that was still wrapping the face that was disappeared. And this was why John began to believe in the resurrection. Transparency of matter in extremely high light energy condition, the interpretation of matter would be not impossible. Therefore, a physical body would not be deprived of its material reality, even when it reaches this particular energetic state. But rather, this body becomes transparent with respect to the matter, and it can penetrate it as long as it is reached this energy. And the transfiguration of a tabor was the prelude to the resurrection, not understood by the apostles. Transparency of the matter, this is another publication where I made the comparison between the atom nucleus and the solar system that is practically void, and this can explain why the matter can pass through another object of matter. This is a miracle happened at Medjugorje that was understood for many years, and this photo was post-processed by me this year, and I detected the source of light in the womb of Mary. Possible explanation, the penetration of matter would possible, the physical body of Jesus supplied with an extremely intense light energy would not be deprived of its material reality, even glorious, but would become transparent to matter, like baby Jesus during the passage through the material womb. And this fact, this should be the first scientific fact that will explain a religious dogma. I have not to read the confirmation foreseen 70 years ago. We have the dogma of the virginity that can be explained by this image processing. I am to the conclusion. You can read this, and I have stolen some minutes, excuse me, but this is very important. And be seeing you tomorrow for the second presentation. I think we have not the time for questions. I have not. If you want, we can speak out in this room. Thank you very much. Thank you. We must thank him.
Does that book contain a lot of this presentation? Does this book contains the presentation?
Yes. No. This presentation is new. This book was published 1 year ago.
Very good. Very, very good.
Thank you.
Professor, how much is your book? How much is this book?